Welcome to this episode of IMPULS with Raphael. This podcast is about the behind-the-scenes reality of B2B SaaS and tech companies. Sales, post-sales, product, same company, but very different realities. You will hear insiders, experts, and doers speak who know what really happens if growth hits the boundaries of the organization. I'm your host, Raphael, and today I speak with Ekaterina. She is the founder of 12 Lane AI and a fractional product leader. Her focus is on product discovery and practical AI use cases for B2B companies. Ekaterina has 2 decades of experience in digital products, customer experience, and transformation programs. She's been into the weeds at large enterprises, finance, and has been a consultant at Deloitte and Capgemini. She made it her profession to cut through the noise and help clients figure out which problems are worth solving. Enjoy this episode. So let's start with that, Ekaterina. What have backgammon and Niklas Luhmann in common?
Oh, wow. I'm so impressed. Oh, my God. Okay. But then next time we should play backgammon. I'm pretty sure I'm going to win.
I'm going to lose, that's for sure as well.
Yeah. Hi, Raphael. Thank you so much for invitation. Nice to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. Back in the days, you played backgammon and you wrote your master thesis about something Niklas Luhmann.
Yeah, Niklas Luhmann.
Which is a guy I don't know, so.
Well, Niklas Luhmann is, I think, one of the most mysterious, complicated, but yet very profound sociologists and philosophers. German, with German roots. And yeah, that was the work on media and society. So how Niklas Luhmann interprets media, that media is like a black box living on its own. So this is like a very primitive way to explain it, but I think it's one of the most talented people in sociology in the 20th century.
And that's where you started your thinking as a professional during your studies, looking at systems, big complex systems.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for this question. I actually think I'm a researcher by my mindset. So I'm always looking into like how the thing works as a system. And this is pretty much what I'm doing my whole career journey.
Looking at that career, if you can please provide me some context. So what brought you all the way from banking and companies like Deloitte to where you are today?
So I have quite a mix of background. I studied sociology. I ran myself customer research, market research, statistical analysis, and so on. And then I joined FinTech startup, first one in Russia. And as in any startup, I mean, it was 400 people, so it's not really startup. You are still in charge for many different things. So my research findings quickly became product decisions. And I was the person who had to go to talk to legal, to talk to engineers, persuade them that we need to do this and that in our digital banking, to talk to marketing team and agency, to explain what we need to promote next. And it was actually very successful story on the market. We got 2 million customers first year, and we kind of got invited, the whole team, to join biggest Russian bank, with the ask pretty much to do the same, but on a scale with 300,000 people. And that's how I actually joined like real banking. And it was a different challenge because what comes with scale is absolutely incomparable with what you can do within a scale up. Also time to market. If you fail with product initiative in a large enterprise, that mean you lost. For example, we had this case, 18 months of development to launch product that nobody could even explain to customers. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money wasted, isn't it?
Well, when you have money, you can be probably more tolerant to this. But that was the path. And also when I started to work more with product within digital space, I became like more digitally engaged in project management and in actually architecture as well in certain cases. And then I moved to Germany, and I thought it's a cool idea to join consulting firm, because then I will get to know more customers and get access to the knowledge of one of the best in the world consulting firms.
And what did you do as a consultant?
So I was part of customer experience and applied design team, and we did a lot projects, starting with product discovery, helping to shape external products for example, for insurer company or for a bank. But the same with internal products. Like I have a deep expertise in internal communication portals. And I think it's actually one of the most important things to make internally teams work, to have a good knowledge system inside.
And then you switched gears again a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because I felt it's like now or never moment. And I felt like I'm hitting the ceiling in consulting. And my job was kind of more and more developing towards doing sales, doing pitching, and not really delivering things. And I'm still very passionate about, doing hands-on work and finding insights and building something that I see works and brings business value. So that was my moment when I decided to start my own journey. And that was also the moment when we started 12 Brave, because we thought it's a cool idea to, get orientation. In 12 Brave, we invited 12 mentors, very senior people, top managers, founders from all over the world. Like we had a founder from New York and so on, basically sharing their knowledge, not like you can read in books, but what actually works in real life when you start a business. Because unfortunately, there is no, Bible where you can read, okay, I do this and this will work. So it's more complicated than that. And I think nowadays it's particularly valuable to have real life experiences.
So you started your own business with inviting your advisory board first, without even knowing the product or anything. No, come on, let's get some really good advisors in that can mentor me and your colleagues. And that was the first idea. That's genius, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you need to learn, it's kind of start learning by doing. I mean, I'm not completely new, so I can definitely cover the part which is in this idea space, product discovery space, validation. But for example, your expertise, sales, marketing, for me is, something new, not super comfortable. So that's the reason, like, how did we start it?
And it seems to me there is kind of a thread throughout your life that you do your research, your discovery, and you talk to people all the time rather than, diving too deep into pure theory. Because, I mean, there are literally thousands of books that you could have read as well. And then say, all right, I read these 100 books. Now I know it.
Of course, but I mean, everybody can do it, right? And you can even talk to your Claude or ChatGPT and get the extraction of whatever best knowledge in the world. And I truly believe that nowadays it's not about the knowledge, but really about lived experiences. Because also when I started my own journey, there were so many people telling me all kinds of advices, like you should do this, you should do that, start Instagram, go there, go to conferences and so on. And then I started to ask like, okay, thank you. Have you done it yourself? Is it something that you did and it worked? Or is it your whatever perceived kind of knowledge that you did not do yourself? Because people tend to oversimplify, how easy it is to launch a business or do a project. And it's always about details, what actually works, what doesn't work.
It's so true. So knowledge is one thing, and you need to have it to some good extent, but a vast knowledge that is not applied is just worth exactly nothing in my world, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably not nothing, but not everything for sure.
You need to apply it. You need to make use of your knowledge and do something and have, as you said it, lived experience with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you founded 12 Lane, which is doing something, product discovery. Can you walk me through what that actually is?
Of course. So 12 Lane is a small advisory where we use AI to kind of do product discovery faster. And we see product discovery not just set of activities. So it's not just customer interviews, market research, competitor analysis, tests, and so on. Not just this, but this is actually a decision-making system. Because as we shortly talked before, nowadays you can have so many wonderful ideas, but how can you actually decide what worth your time, your efforts, and your investment? And even better, when you can fail faster enough so that you do not waste your budget, your team efforts on this. So this is what we do with product discovery. We help to identify where there is a good AI use case inside the product or in business functions around it.
Got it. And talking about the AI thing, I mean, nowadays you can AI everything, right? And if I put myself into the shoes of any product guy, the FOMO must be just insane, because there is so much that you could do, that you should do, that you must do, and that you must not do, right? And when you look at your work with your clients, how do you decide what not to do and what to kind of let go in terms of product development?
I mean, it's probably not an easy decision. It's not like it looks cool or not, but it's basically based on few things. For example, if there is a real customer problem that is worth solving, because typically in the company, when you already have existing business, I'm pretty sure you know what are their biggest problems. Because you have your sales team, you have your customer support tickets. There is a lot of information already that you can solve. Then the question is it really a good potential use case or it's just looking good? Meaning, will customers be willing to pay for it or pay more or will stay longer with us? And also, is it something that we have to do first or there are other more important things? And I also prefer to look at it in like an ecosystem, because even if we talk about B2B SaaS, there is always different things around it. So it's not just a fancy widget in your product as such, but there will be certification, post-sales services. There will be this specific, expectation of trust that you can, call someone as a business owner. You want to call someone on weekend and be sure that they will pick up the phone. They will answer your question. And if they cannot answer, at least they will tell you, okay, Monday, first thing in the morning, we are on it. And so it has to be kind of a compilation of things. And for example, like when we talk about AI, many people think of conversational bot. Like, okay, let's have a conversational bot. So in this case, you need to think this conversational bot doesn't need to sit with your customer service or with your customer. Because in many cases, your customer will want to talk to real person still, especially there are many industries which are still not that kind of digitally native, and they still want to have this, quick solution. I guess it's your area of expertise. So
Yeah. So what is kind of encouraging to me is that you say that, at least to me, some basic principles never change. So if you do something new, make sure you have a business case for it. That's what I always to be honest, I learned it the hard way. I was in sales all the time, and whoever shouted the loudest got the feature. That was my reality, and I was pretty much a loud voice myself for my next opportunity, because that was obviously the one and most important that there was. But then I started to learn, no. There needs to be some sort of leveling out, some triage going on, especially if you want to balance out that newest opportunity, maybe a new segment that you want to explore, then bug fixing, new features for existing clients who are asking for it. And then you have that boring thing that's called strategic product development, because you might have a roadmap after all, which you can easily screw all the time if you talk too much to all your clients, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point, that if you have, let's say, 9,000, 10,000 B2B customers, and they all raise their own wishful desires, and your roadmap will be a disaster. So you always need to kind of not offer, this joke, like if you would ask people in 19th century what they want, they will say stronger horse,
Yeah,
but for
totally.
something different. So it's also about a strong product judgment and product sense, because you do not expect from people to tell you what to do, but you should look as a product owner, a product manager, you should look into what people are struggling with and what kind of workarounds they use, because this is the best.
So the core that I understand is have 100% understanding of what the actual problem is, with all its viewing angles, with all its facets, whatever, and then figure out, okay, can we solve that problem? To which extent? And is it such a problem that there is a budget for it? Right?
Yeah, exactly. And a good problem. We talked about ROI of that ROI can come in different forms and shapes. It can be also better customer experience, right? That will not be monetized straight away. But definitely there should be a clear outcome for business that can be transparent.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So with all the conversations that you have right now with your clients about product and taking product decisions, what is it that you see right now that is of the most pressing thing that needs to change in product development, product design, however you call that, because you're the expert right now in times of AI, where kind of, you have the people saying SaaS is dead. And then you have the others who say, come on, never going to happen. We have all the big corporations out there, and we had all technology fail miserably, if you want. But somewhere in the middle needs to be the truth, right? So where do you see that sweet spot of, this is what I should focus on right now?
Wow, that's a good question. I actually did my own research on SaaSacalypsis, and I'm definitely sure SaaS is not dead, because there are many advantages. Yeah, because there are many advantages that SaaS companies have. So I think in terms of product, that's actually interesting, because, this product manager role has transformed over time. And even though like product discovery and product strategic thinking is the core ability, the core skill of product manager, they often become, stakeholder aligners and running between engineer and CEO asking for yet another feature like competitor just released. So they actually kind of dream in the night about doing product discovery and not being able to do it. And I think a good thing that is happening now that this profession, this role is kind of getting back to what it was supposed to do, like to identify what is the problem, to test it, to put strong evidence-based bet on specific initiatives, expecting for the outcomes. And AI helps to do it because for different reasons, like you do not need engineers or designers to do the first step. You can do the prototype. You can test things faster. And that's why I also see that despite also, this like titles that product management is dead because of AI, it's actually other way around. And companies are getting more ambitious because now you can do with the same workforce of engineers, of designers, you can do more. And what you actually need now is more product managers to
That is interesting. And at the same time, that more, isn't it that becoming a problem? Because again, reality of companies out there is a seller waving the hand with, hey, here's that 1 million opportunity. And for that, we need to have that and that and that feature. Talked about with the customer about that thing for half an hour, doesn't know anything. I'm talking for a friend here. It's not that I ever did something like that, right? So, but you have that rough idea. Yeah, that's what the customer wants, and that is maybe what competition is supposedly doing, and the features that they have. So we need that as well. So that is one thing. And then what I see oftentimes, or better saw in the last years, was that product people became better in showing some stop signals like, no, you can't do just that. You need to exactly describe the problem, the desired outcome, and possible solutions for it. So how would that look like? And then they started with, we need those Jira user stories in it, la-di-la-di-la-di-la. So that made some lazy people not do it, just not submit it and wait for the escalation, because that escalation is helping them, and then everybody's under a lot of time pressure. But the point that I want to make is, now with AI, it became so much cheaper and easier to just make that up. Hey, I have still that same idea, and now I let AI produce the right user story for it and the ticket, and then I send it over to product and let them figure it out again. So it's kind of an internal war. Like, I can create all that stuff with AI, and then you need more people with even more AI to break it down again and, carve out all the garbage. Where do you see that going? Or do you see that at all?
Well, I mean, what you describe, of course, is like, I think it's a typical problem in maybe any more or less large SaaS company. I think, first of all, decision-making craft, like judgment call of product manager should be there. So you cannot just submit your feature requests, because then in the end, your product will look like a Frankenstein. And nobody will be happy, not your customer, not yourself. I see a huge potential of bringing together different source of information, because sales calls are golden, right? You can hear so many insights there that can feed a product manager with further ideas. So it has to be a specific workflow, how new ideas get into the pipeline and how do they land on the roadmap. Because definitely like one big customer, if it's your, I don't know, this customer is 50% of your portfolio, then of course you can be more attentive. But then you need to make sure that it will had a good impact on the rest of smaller customers. Actually, I had this experience. I worked in a large bank where we used a SaaS solution for intranet. And this bank was like the biggest, like the gigantic client for the SaaS solution. And it was a lot of back and forth about customizations and why this works this way and so on. But I think we found this like optimal balance where we can provide feedback and then they kind of route it to strategists and see how things can work. So it's, I think there will be a lot of benefit. And actually with AI, you can kind of bring to daylight all these insights that are hidden because your calls can be transcribed, can be analyzed. And I'm doing a lot with my calls the same.
And does that mean that if I am the product guy, just lacking better words here, whatever your exact title might be, is it the right choice to just get all the transcripts from sales meetings as much as possible and then just, figure out what is product related and have that analyzed? Or is there some point where you say, okay, now I should be personally engaging with the client?
Yeah, I still see a lot of value in talking to people. I just remembered my ex-boss always said, like, talk to your fucking customer. Mm-hmm. And it's, it's true. So signals from sales calls can indicate something, but in many cases, you do not know that much. So you need to, these signals can be like, if you have enough amount of such signals, you can decide to dive deeper, but you actually need to have these conversations and ask your questions and actually see why exactly they are asking for this, whatever feature or service, what is underneath, like, and how in a more smart way you can resolve it with your product. So I always support this idea that you have to talk to customer.
Makes sense. Now, with everything that you just described and what you know today, if you would travel back in time all the way to that one project that you described in the beginning with 18 months of work invested into something that was not usable. So in hindsight, what would you have done differently back then if you knew what you know today? And if you would have been the one deciding everything, right?
Yeah, so with that particular project, I only caught like the end. So that's why maybe can be sarcastic.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, but yeah, I will try to not oversimplify it because, also nowadays, like many people think that you can just talk to a person and they ask them, do you like my product? And they will say, oh, of course, I like your product. And then they will never buy, but it's kind of nobody cares about it. So the product discovery also, of course, has to follow specific framework and the way how even you talk to your customer. It primes a lot of answers and it can go wrong in many different ways. So, but with this particular product, I think what did not happen, that nobody talked to customer even in a simple way, because it was completely driven from department that thought that it would be a cool idea to combine a debit card with insurance product and with something else. And nobody even checked if they can pitch it to a customer. Not even like as customer, would you use it? Is there any need for it? But I would actually start before. I would ask them how do they deal with their financial services? What are their typical routine tasks that they execute, where they feel tension? I would look for these kind of signals. And definitely I would not come up with this idea. at all. So
that could have happened in any normal German company, right? Because there are some engineers thinking up some, and now I am the one exaggerating a little bit, a technically beautiful solution. That is, if you look at it as an engineer, you say, wow, that is so cool that it is even possible. I admire you for doing that and for inventing that. And then after everything has been done, they figure out if there is a problem for their solution, right?
well, yeah, that's true. I actually also see like other side of this, maybe two stories. First, our first story was about building 3D char avatar. That was one of the pilots. And the learning was that when people, inside the company, they want to find some kind of HR related information, all they want like a big search bar like this, where you can basically type like, how many holidays I have left or whatever. So they have absolutely no desire to talk to, this like 3D, whatever.
Yeah, we are all
thing.
still not living in the metaverse.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true. Yeah.
But I mean, that was the case when in demo, it looked quite cool. Like it was well designed, but solution was not there. And another story I had that in the bank where I worked in the past, we had a project to build a flagman branch office, and everybody was thinking like, yeah, let's invite Zaha Hadid to do, this plants inside, like bring it close to nature, or let's do these robots, or who will, walk around and so on. And then when we did customer research, we learned that what people want is to have Wi-Fi, that they want to have toilet, and they want to have something to occupy their kids while they're waiting for
It's so
service.
boring.
It's so boring, but this is kind of what perfect bank office looks like.
All right. So now we traveled back in time a little bit, and I would love to do the opposite as well. So if you knew what the world for product, people, and B2B SaaS would look like in 3 years, what do you believe has changed until then? And what is it that I can prepare right now for?
Yeah, I think what will change, and I totally sense it, like this anti-optimization trend, I think it's real and it's just getting bigger because there is too much information that is impossible to act upon, to consume, and this has to stop. So people will have to learn how to filter what's important and what's not, because this is the only way how you can actually focus on something meaningful and not being kind of torn apart by different ideas, activities, and so on. So I think that's gonna be a bigger trend in 3 years. And what you can do right now, you can identify what is actually important for you. What are your values? Where you want to be as a professional, as a person? What kind of life you want to live? And this kind of has to become your foundation for how you laser focus your attention based on that. This is my own kind of plan.
Totally love it. And it resonates with me big time. I'm on a kind of a journey now for a couple of years to restart my own thinking, to reflect and ask myself, all right, how much of that is coming actually from me and my heart, and how much of that is just learned from somewhere from the outside? And can I even distinguish it? That's a big thing. And it counts for professional as well as for personal life.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, we can do that in the next conversation. So, Ekaterina, we are coming to the end, kind of. But is there one thing that we didn't talk about, but we should definitely still talk about?
Yeah, in the age of AI, we need to kind of focus on how we stay more human because, as you said, and I see it a lot, I saw it from I worked with over 100 founders in 12 Brave, and I have every week 2-3 conversations with business owners about AI and about like how we all feel in this uncertainty and in this like constantly changing context. And I think maybe our parents or grandparents didn't have this luxury to ask themselves who they are and what they want. Because there was no such a thing. Like you have your career path, you have to be a good man, like good worker, and this is what you do. And you kind of do not do these stupid questions. And now we have this luxury where we can actually decide or try to reflect and understand what we want and how we want it to happen. And I think this is like very challenging situation because it's so much easier when somebody else tells you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's amazing time to see how people kind of get on board with this new reality, new opportunities, and how they adopt.
Wonderful words. I love it. We talked before we started with that episode a little bit about the podcast itself and how I admire Stephen Bartlett for his Diary of a CEO podcast. And so I thought I could just steal something from him that I totally love that he does in every show. What question do you want to ask my next guest, not knowing who it will be? And the question left for you is the following. How much of your brain work do you delegate to AI on a normal day? And what did it change for you?
Yeah, I delegate probably too much, I have to admit. And this is why I'm also learning how to do it less. What I think is important for me is to keep like first step, first thinking coming from myself so that I keep my critical thinking, my system thinking still alive. So do not delegate it to machine. But I do delegate a lot of tasks to LLMs. I have a set of bunch of agents doing things for me. So I'm trying to delegate more execution than decision making as such. Or, for example, I can request for research, but still it comes through my judgment call for me to assess if it's worth it or we should look at it in a different way.
All right. Ekaterina, thank you so much for your time and for your insight. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Raphael, and best of luck with your podcast. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a big legend in Germany and beyond.
Of course it will.
Yeah, and I'm very honored to be your first guest. And I hope we can also organize something together in our next meeting.
We will. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raphael.